Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier 3 will be happening during UFC 318 in New Orleans, Louisiana, as this is Dustin Poirier's retirement fight. And coming into this fight, again, they have had 3 fights. However, all of them have basically been under different circumstances. The first one at 45, the second one, I believe Max took it on kind of short notice, especially for lightweight. Didn't have enough time to build into that division. So you had that. And then this matchup, Max Holloway is pretty much fully committed to the lightweight division, has been building up into the division. You saw that against Gaethje, went right back down to Tapology and then came right back up. So we're having a well-built Holloway coming into this fight, true lightweight sizes and builds for this fight. So it should be more interesting than their previous matchups, in my opinion. People were a little bit critical of this being the third fight that they did have. I believe it is for the BMF belt. So there are some stakes, obviously, outside of Dustin Poirier potentially retiring in this fight. But getting into this prediction and breakdown, I'm going to break down how these guys physically match up against each other and how I think this fight will go. So first off, Max Holloway is 26-8. Dustin Poirier is 30-9. Max Holloway will be 33 years of age, and Dustin Poirier will be 36 years of age. Max Holloway will be standing at 5'11. Dustin Poirier 5'9. Similar sizes, no big difference there. 69 inches of reach for Max Holloway and 73 inches of reach for Dustin Poirier, which might be a factor in this fight. Again, they have fought before. I really only rewatched their last fight because I felt like that was the only. I will say that like their first fight was a pretty long time ago at 45, 55. You can kind of get an idea of how they will approach each other in this fight, because I think Max Holloway was like 27, Dustin Poirier he's like 30 coming into that fight. So it wasn't super long ago. It was 6 years ago, but they are similar fighters from when they were. So coming into this fight, again, like I just said, I watched their last fight. Max Holloway did not look too great in that fight. Like, he had moments in the first round. Maybe he had like 5 seconds, maybe 5 to 10 seconds where he had a moment and hurt Dustin Poirier. And then in the third and fourth round, he had some bigger moments in those rounds because Dustin Poirier had just so much output early on in the rounds. Like, there was an insane amount of output that Dustin Poirier was throwing. And I was actually kind of surprised by it, because you never really see, like Dustin likes breaking guys down, and he loves throwing in combinations, but you never really see him throwing in that crazy output. And against a guy like Holloway, who's super durable, he probably thought he could finish him and break him, which he wasn't even able to drop him, but he did hurt Max Holloway a couple times in that fight, did hit him quite a bit. And I do think, watching that fight, I do think that Max Holloway being built for this division now, building himself up, adding muscle, I think will actually benefit him quite a bit in this fight. And obviously that's the take. Like, obviously, if you're going up a division, you want to be well built for it. But I really think that it might just be a really big difference maker, especially 6 years later. I think there's going to be a massive difference coming into this fight. But Max Holloway, there are some questions about his chin, and it is a big question for me coming into this fight, because it will depend on how I pick this fight. Max Holloway, if his chin is completely done, which I don't think it is, against Ilia Poirier, he got KO'd for the first time, got dropped unofficially for the first time against Justin Gaethje. They didn't count it as him getting dropped, but he pretty much got dropped. I guess they counted it as a slip or something like that, but he got dropped against Ilia Poirier and then got put out, losing his first KO loss. That was 6 months ago. I am a little bit worried about the turnaround there, because it was 6 months ago, but this is up a division. I think his chin should be fine. He probably won't have to worry about a crazy weight cut like he did for 45, because he built up for 55 for that Justin Gaethje fight. I think he might have taken maybe a year off. He took 8 months off between that Gaethje fight and the Korean Zombie fight that he got KO in, to build up in lightweight. Then he had to go straight down to 45 and fight a super big power puncher in Taporia, which I do think did affect his shin. So I don't think Max Holloway's shin will be harmed in any way coming into this fight. He is still 33, he's still kind of in his prime, especially for lightweight. Kind of 35 is where you start to fall off a little bit at lightweight. Same thing with like a welterweight as well, but Max is still kind of in his physical prime. There are some concerns there, but I don't think it's going to be as big an issue up a weight class. And Dustin Poirier coming off a loss against Islam Makhachev, which I think he had one of his best performances against a guy, like especially a wrestler, Islam Makhachev. And that fight is going to be a big reason for the pick that I'm going to have for Islam Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena coming into their fight, which I will do a prediction for at some point, probably within the next couple of weeks. But he'd had a really good contest in that one. I think early on he got controlled on the ground, but there was moments where, especially to the body, I really liked. He had really nice output on Islam Makhachev. There were times where Islam Makhachev was able to land on him, and it's not like coming into this fight, it's not really a fight I was really evaluating too much for this matchup, because there is the takedown threat, and there is that looming threat where your offense is kind of limited because you're worried about defense not overextending, showing your hips too much to where Islam Makhachev can take you down pretty easily. So I didn't think too much about that fight, other than the fact that Dustin Poirier looked really good in there, especially with takedown defense, but he's not going to have, Max Holloway isn't going to shoot takedowns on him, so this fight's going to be on the feet. However, Benoit Saint-Denis got that nice KO. Justin Gaethje fight, I think, was very interesting. You're going to have the same thing with Dustin Poirier. He's going to pick his shots early, and he's going to eventually try to overwhelm his opponent. And I think what I got most out of any of these fights that Dustin Poirier recently had, Justin Gaethje got head kicked. He did have some really good moments early on, but out of any of these fights, if I'm being honest, it was the Max Holloway fight, like the second fight where Max Holloway was landing on Dustin Poirier, but it was doing absolutely nothing. And we know Dustin Poirier's chin isn't necessarily like the best. Like it's solid, like he can take shots, but there are times where you can get slept, like the Michael Johnson fight, the recently Justin Gaethje fight where he got head kicked. He even kind of blocked it a little bit, but still kind of hit his bell a little bit, and he went out cold. There are times where he can get hit and he does kind of just go out with it. Max Holloway, when he was landing on Dustin Poirier, and I think this was a pretty big factor as well. There were moments where I think maybe Max Holloway made a couple better decisions instead of like going for a jump knee against the fence against Dustin Poirier, where you just continue to show output against him. He could have finished him, but in this fight, Max Holloway's punches are going to be a little bit. It's going to be noticeable on Dustin Poirier. Like if Dustin Poirier takes a punch from Max Holloway, he's going to feel it a little bit more than their first matchup where Max Holloway wasn't completely built in the division. I think that's going to be the difference maker in this fight. Max Holloway is going to be able to go band for band with Dustin Poirier in this fight, where Dustin Poirier was able to kind of just overwhelm Max Holloway, but you know Max Holloway's kind of game either way. And with the power and the pop in the shots that we have seen from Max Holloway at 155, he's going to be very dangerous in this fight. And I think if this does become a war, Dustin Poirier at 36 is not a guy I'm going to really trust in this fight. So for my prediction here, I am going to go with Max Holloway. I like him potentially by TKO. I can just see this fight getting really scrappy, and I don't like Dustin Poirier shot takedowns in that last fight that they had. I don't think he needs to do that in this fight because it's not really, he's not fighting for a championship or anything. It is a BMF belt, but he's thinking in his mind, this is my last fight. Like I'm not looking to necessarily get the win. I'm looking to have a nice scrap. Like this is the last fight people will remember me on. Obviously, he probably doesn't want to get KO'd in the fight, but Max Holloway, I think, will be there in these exchanges. He does a good job with his jab, especially against Poirier. You saw his jab is a nice 1-2 down the middle. He's very long. Dustin Poirier obviously has longer reach, but Dustin Poirier kind of got tagged quite a bit against Islam Makhachev. He is there to be hit. Although his boxing is really good, he is there to be hit. Max Holloway showed also head kicks. He had some nice obliques against Ilia Topuria, nice sweeps to the body. Like he's definitely learning more in his game and starting to mix things up on the feet, and I do think that's going to be a factor in this fight. I don't think he's going to set up anything special like Justin Gaethje did with like the Leon or whatever and hide his head kick and be able to land on Dustin Poirier. He's going to throw those shots at range and then land his combinations with his hands, but this is going to become a scrap. I think he lands early on Max Holloway, and Holloway does get hurt, but I think as this fight goes on, I trust the chin of Max Holloway at 33 years of age more than I kind of trust the durability of Dustin Poirier from what we've seen. Like he can't take punches, but there are moments where I think a Max Holloway with built up and at 155 with the power and the shots, I think can put Dustin Poirier's lights out in this fight. So I am going to go Max Holloway in this one. I just trust him being the more durable fighter. He's still in his physical prime. Dustin Poirier, we've seen him take quite a bit of damage in his last few fights. I think this fight becomes a little bit more of a scrap. I don't see this one going to a decision, if I'm being honest. These guys just get really scrappy quite a bit. I don't see it making it there with the way these guys fight, especially with their output. They're both heavy output fighters. They both have really nice pop in their shots, but they're both very heavy on the output. And each of their goal kind of just to overwhelm their opponents. I like Max Holloway's pops in his shots. KO Justin Gaethje looked really good in that fight as well. I think he KOs Dustin Poirier in this one. Outside of maybe Max Holloway's chin potentially being gone, which I don't think it is, I think he KOs Dustin Poirier in this fight in the second or third round by TKO. I think he gets hurt early on by Dustin Poirier, very similar to the last fight. However, Dustin Poirier was hurting him quite a bit for most of that fight, but he hurts him early. Max Holloway kind of goes on his back foot. Dustin Poirier kind of tracks him down and tries to land combinations and tries to overwhelm him, but Max Holloway's still there for that fight, recovers, and then goes into exchanges, catches Dustin Poirier on the chin. Dustin Poirier gets hurt, and it becomes a little bit of a scrap, and they kind of hang in there. I just think Max Holloway is just going to be able to have the power to catch Dustin Poirier coming in an exchange. So I like Max Holloway in this fight. Second or third round TKO, just catching Dustin Poirier on the chin, maybe late second, early third round for this one. So let me know who you guys have down below for your prediction, and I'll see you guys next time.